Swim check 1, 2. Bike check 1, 2. Run check 1, 2. I think we're ready. Let's try this. Welcome to the Try Beginner's Luck podcast, a podcast where we explore the sport of triathlon from a variety of perspectives to help beginner triathletes on their journey. I am your host, Nashonda Shines. Well, welcome back to another edition of Try Beginner's Luck. Wow, the year is just moving so fast. Tri season is in high gear, local races are happening, and I promise you, it is just like this, the transition zone, the perfect area to not let anything in the world distract you, but the perfect place to just be. As a reminder, this is your transition area for this season, where we won't ignore what's happening, but we will acknowledge them, we'll adjust, and we'll keep moving forward. We will decompress, not distract. We aren't turning a blind eye to reality, but we aren't choosing not to let it drain our battery. We're going to control the controllables. We can't fix the whole world at once, but we can control our effort, our kindness, and our community. And we're going to fuel the fire. I'm here to provide you with information and good stories that will inspire you to try, and for some of you to continue to try, and for some of you to cross your finish lines. Regardless of what's happening on the sidelines, we're going to recognize the struggle but not refuse to contribute to the noise and focus on the miles ahead. Whew. I think I should do that again. Whew. Man, it is so good to have a craft where you can always decompress, better yourself, grow, and have perfect balance. Well, I don't even know if perfect is the right word. But there are some athletes who build life around the sport. They're consistent, they're quiet, but they have this kind of discipline that doesn't just show up on race day, but shows up at home, in the community, and in between moments that no one sees. Today's guest is someone who didn't come into triathlon with all the answers. In fact, their journey started like many of ours, with a sprint race, but in a pool, and a whole lot of figuring it out as they went. There were breaks, there were setbacks, there were moments of doubt, like coming out of the water nearly last and choosing to come back again. This is a powerful story to me because they've built a family, becoming a father, welcoming in 3 children within the last 17 months. Baby, okay, that's a lot. But still finding a way to stay committed to the sport, to the growth, and becoming better, not just as an athlete, but as a man. And this also speaks to their character, because when the world shut down and they weren't able to race, what did he do? He did a self-supported iron distance. I know, crazy, right? Yes. But it's not about training alone. It's also about finding community and purpose. And he also found purpose through Team Varlo. And is also pouring back as he is a team captain over the Virginia region. So listen, you're about to hear a story about resilience, community, fatherhood, and what it really looks like to grow in this sport time after time after time, and continually to evolve. Everybody who's listening right now, it is an honor and a pleasure to introduce to the Try Beginner's Luck audience, Mike Nyman. Mike, welcome to Try Beginner's Luck. How you doing?
I'm doing so good. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. Talk about my story and talk about my psychopath children who drive me and are the best parts of my life and all the good stuff.
Oh, I love that. I'm sure you're just saying that because they're all like young and running around, but they are really just balls of energy, I can only imagine. But before we get started, I come from a family of Michaels. So you prefer Mike, versus Michael, or even like I call my brother Mikey.
Yes, I am. I'm a Mike. I don't know what it is. When I was a kid or growing up, my mom always called me Mikey, and then all my friends call me Mike. And I don't know. Michael was like, I'm not a very formal person, you know. Like Michael was like too much, and Mikey is like too babyish, and I don't know. Mike is just like where I'm at.
I find this so funny because my brother has really been trying really hard to get me to stop calling him Mikey. And I'm like, I don't know any other name for you. You're Mikey to me. So when you said that it's a little babyish, okay, maybe. But like it's such a term of endearment. It's
It's like
so
my kid's name is Tate. I'm gonna call him Tatey. And like if I called him Tatey when he was like 15, I think he would probably hate me, right? So I'm gonna have to stop at some point. Like my other kid's name is Luke, and I call him Lukey, and it's like that's just like the I don't know the vibe that like it's like the baby, you know.
but you can't start that. Like, see, that's the problem. Like you're perpetuating a cycle that you want to stop, but now you're doing it with your kids. And then his friends are gonna hear him and call them Tatey and Lukey. So you have to stop. You started it. You
I gotta
continued
stop
it.
the
You
trauma.
continued the legacy of Mikey.
I did, yeah, that's true.
He's like,
I'm gonna
oh
stop.
God,
I'm
now the
stopping
whole
today.
world knows my. Oh, so, what are your other children's names?
So my older child Bennett just turned 5 last week or 2 weeks ago, and then my twins are Luke and Tate.
Okay, so does Bennett have a nickname?
Bennett's nicknames are like Ben Ben, Benny Boone, Benny Boy.
Oh, so he has more
He's got a lot.
mature. He has more mature nicknames. Okay, I see what you
Yeah.
did there.
Like Benny, we call him Benny all the time too, but Benny, it's not, I don't know why, but it doesn't feel the same as like childish to me, you know, like, cause Benny is a very, I don't know. Benny feels like a more just like normal name, not like a nickname.
But you see the theme. The IE has carried on its legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. Well, let's do this. We are here to talk about the good sport of triathlon. And so our names matter, but not as much as our ages sometimes when you have to put that age on the back of your leg or you get to put your last name on your bib, but our first names are like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Take us back to 2013. You started doing triathlon in 2013. It was a pool race. What even made you get involved in the sport back in 2013?
Yeah. So when I graduated from college and I moved in with my best friend, and we had this like crazy job where we were residential counselors at this like boarding school for kids with special needs with like significant emotional disabilities. And we had the absolute craziest schedule where we would work Wednesday afternoon at like 2 p.m. to Thursday morning. We slept at the school and like did any sort of like kid woke up, like we were the like dorm parent kind of thing, you know. And we lived like 13 miles from the school, and I had gotten a bike for my graduation present because my best friend had a bike, and we're living in Charlottesville, Virginia, which is like a super like low key, really good bike town in Virginia. There's like tons of hills, lots of super open roads, and we started biking to work. And one day he was like, "Yo, we should do a triathlon. There's one like an hour away. It's a pool swim. We're both terrible at swimming. This is like perfect for us because we're both runners in high school. He ran cross country and I ran track, and we both like we're trying to find like what next was going to be sort of like our like competitive nature or whatever because we were both super competitive people. And so we signed up for a triathlon in 2013. And I remember being on the run of the 5K. And after like a mile in, and this was like 2013, like we didn't have, like I was wearing my old school like Timex watch, you know? So there's no like GPS data. I remember after like 10 minutes, I thought I was going to like die and fall over. And someone else literally, as I'm like starting to walk, like grab my shirt and just like pulls me along and is like, no, we're going to do this. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Most people know, right? When you finish a triathlon, you cross that finish line, the feeling of euphoria is like you can't get that anywhere else. So like I don't know. Then I did the same race the following year without my friend, and I don't know. Then it's just like took a break. I went to grad school to be a school psychologist, and then found my way back at some point.
Okay. That's actually kind of cool that, just by getting a gift, you're the first person I know maybe that's gotten a gift of a bike as a gift for graduation, which is actually a pretty cool gift. And to be able to determine that you wanted to do a triathlon, which triathlon was it? And have you gone back since to do that race?
I wish I could. It was called Angels Race in Lynchburg, Virginia, and it
Hmm.
stopped. I think
Oh.
2014 was one of the last years. I've looked to try and go back, um, but yeah, no, it's done. I moved out of Charlottesville in 2015 to come up to the Northern Virginia area where I live now to go to grad school, which is also like I stopped kind of doing endurance sports, which is why I stopped doing triathlon until I kind of like got my feet sort of like cemented into like the graduate school world. Um, but yeah, I would love to do that race again. That was a cool race.
So you took a break to go to grad school to become a school psychologist. Um, when did you pick up triathlon again after grad school? Because I feel like I just heard maybe you wanted to get settled first and then you picked it up again. So what did that look like? And then how did you continue to grow in the sport? Because you've done all distances, including, if I'm remembering correctly, you just finished Ironman Texas a couple of
Hmm.
weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah, I started. I did a half marathon like my second semester of grad school, and um, it was cool. It was great. I did like one in DC toward the monuments, the usual, DC half marathon experience. And then I just like felt a pull back to triathlon for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And then in 2017, I did General Smallwood, which great race, but I never done open water swimming. I only swim in a pool, and right, that's an open water swim. And so I went out. I was like feeling very confident, and I got into the water, and it was a cold day. It was raining. I think it was like 45 degrees outside, and like I was so like didn't even know what the water temperature was. Didn't know the water temperature was like a thing that people cared about for a wetsuit. Like didn't have a wetsuit. Just like got in there in like my probably like regular bathing suit just to go on and swim, and just had an absolute panic attack. And I think by like the first buoy, I was doing breaststroke, and I didn't go over to like a kayak or anything. I was like, I'm gonna finish this, and then just did breaststroke. And I think I was like 189th out of 190 out of the water or something crazy. Um, and I don't know. I just kept after that. Like I got on the bike and the run, and that's like more of my speed. Right, swimming is still a big issue for me, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just like it's the same thing, right? You go and you keep pushing, and you're like, I finished. I did this thing that I thought was impossible to do.
Hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, you did it. But when you said 2017 General Smallwood, that triggered something in my brain. And I have a trivia question for you. Do you know who won the overall 2017 General Smallwood race?
It's Taylor Nib. They talk about this every time, and I'm a big Taylor Nib fan. So yes, I think they said that last year when they did General Smallwood.
Yes, I did. That's my whole trivia question. I love that trivia question because it's so cool. Like, we think sometimes these athletes come up from obscurity, but they had their start. And she raced a lot with Kinetic Multisport, which is one of the
Mm.
best um, triathlon companies on the East Coast. So, or I would say, I don't want to say like in all the world, even though I believe that, but they are definitely one of the premier um, triathlon companies that she raced for, and her mom still races with them as well. So that's pretty cool that, when you came back and wanted to tap your toes, you did it at General Smallwood, which is one of my favorite races, by the way.
And I have since been back to that race many times, and I've gotten my revenge on that swim course, um,
Good,
to make sure
good.
that it's got my good licks in.
So let's talk about that. Because some people will have bad races and they will just be like, okay, I'm done, or they'll come again. It may not be what they're looking for, expecting, and then they won't keep coming back. But you said you got your revenge back. What did that revenge look like, and how sweet is it now that you did not stop?
It took me a while. I don't think I went back to General Smallwood. when was the first time after I did it? After that race, I did a pool swim triathlon again to make sure that I felt comfortable finishing it, you know?
Hmm.
And then after that, I'm trying to remember when I went back to General Smallwood. I think it was like 21 or 22 after I had kind of done a ton of racing. I had done a couple fulls, and I was like, it's time. I'm like ready. I'm confident to go back to General Smallwood because I was like sort of deathly scared that like the swim was going to ruin me again. But after like there's like I do a lot of wave one open water swimming, which is in DC, like swimming in the Potomac, to like get that confidence back up. But I'm definitely a person who like is very type A. Like if I feel defeated, I'm gonna like go back when I'm, keeping it hard until I feel like it's been avenged.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly, Mike. You had gone on to do other distances, but you still needed to come back to General Smallwood. Do you hear what you just said? Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
Hmm. I love that. Because most people, if they would have gone on to the next distance, they would just been like, okay, whatever. But you were like, no, I'm coming back. I mentioned in the opening about character, and you're the type of person that just you do the quiet things, you have the discipline. Is that always how you've been? Because I'm trying to make the correlation between you've surpassed this sprint or Olympic distance to do larger distances, but that particular swim at General Smallwood still had a hold on you and you wouldn't let it defeat you. Tell us a little bit about that. Because I think, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. And I'm saying this because the swim is one of the most challenging parts of the races. And I think everyone has a different swim story, whether you can swim really well or you're a beginner swimmer. And to be able to speak to that, I think will encourage a lot of folks. So that's why I'm like emphasizing it.
I would say like I still I did Texas 2 weeks ago and I still get nervous for the swim, like super nervous. I would say in I can't count. There's too many races that I've had panic attacks in, but like I'm still going. I would say when I did I did what was it? I did Eagleman in 2023. I had a really big panic attack and went to a kayak and just like last year at Eagleman, it was really like choppy and I had another panic attack and just like did some breaststroke for a little bit and like Placid in 2024, my goggles like opened up at like 200 meters in the swim, and I don't know, just like sent my heart rate skyrocket through a loop. Had a panic attack then, went to a kayak. And I still like, I don't know, the swim still gets me. I still like try and do tons of just like as much like first entry practice, you know what I mean? Like I'll go into the pool and just jump into the deep end and just like try and practice doing 10 strokes as fast as I can to like kind of or like simulate that like having your heart rate spike and then going into the water. I don't know what it is about me, but like I read that like when you go into the water, it's like a survival instinct, right? Where if your face gets cold, your heart rate spikes to indicate to your body to get out, and that's like why people have panic attacks. It's like your body is essentially trying to save you, right? Which kudos, body, thank you. I do probably need to be saved every once in a while. But then like once you get past that, right, as lots of people know, once you get past that initial feeling, you get like 200 meters in, then you're usually fine. And it's like, oh, cool, I'm swimming, we're doing it, it's great. I mean, even at Texas, there was like a half moment where I was like, I'm about to panic, I'm about to freak out. Like, in the first like 10 strokes of the water, as like I'm starting to feel, and Texas was warm. It was a non-wetsuit swim. It was like 76.7 degrees. Like it was warmer than the air temperature. The air temperature was like 67. So I got in there and I was like, this is kind of like a bath water. But for whatever it is for me, like I'm driving in and it's just like that, like rush, like the hype, the anxiety for the swim where I just feel like, and that's what made me like want to go back to General Smallwood, right? Is that whatever, there was something about that, like water, that lake, whatever, that I knew I needed to like put fear into my heart. Because after that, I did a couple other kinetics. I did Pleasant's Landing, and like those went okay. You know what I mean? Like so, just like General Smallwood, I knew like at some point I'm coming back there, I'm going to tackle that water just so like mentally I know in my own brain that like it's not that water. It's not like nothing special about that place, you know, like just to prove to myself that I could do it, that I could push past it, that I feel, you know, feel like I beat it because I felt very defeated that day. I had a fine race after that. Like when I did it back in 2017, my ride and run were no issue. Um, but I did feel like the swim really beat me down, and I don't know. Just coming back, like knowing like I've done an Ironman and I'm gonna let this sprint distance beat me is like too much for my ego.
The ego has a way of fueling certain
Mm,
intense intensities within us, right? Like the
mm.
ego, if we don't quiet it down, it will have us out here doing wonderful things like triathlon and still wanting to go back and not let something defeat us. So I love that. And I'm glad you named it, but also I'm glad that you said just now that although you have done iron distances, you were not going to let a sprint distance win. And I think if those who might be listening who are beginners and just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But then those who've been doing the sport, like veterans, we know that can be very true. It doesn't matter. Like you race the day that you're given, and you don't know what that may look like. You can prepare and prepare and prepare. And it doesn't mean you're going to go out and have the best race of your life. It goes out and says, what are the conditions? What is happening around you? What can you control? You only can control what you can control, and that's you can't control the weather. Can't control the waves. You can't control the bathwater, lakes, and other bodies of water that we may enter in. And so I'm really glad that you said that. Transitioning on to 2020, because I guess you started in 2013, came back in 2017, and been going ever since. But in 2020, I'm assuming you had to have registered for an Ironman and the world shut down. And you weren't letting that stop you.
Yeah,
What?
100%.
What? How did that all come together? And what made you say, no, I'm going to do this? And how and where did you do it?
Yeah, so I did my first half in 2019 at Atlantic City, which very sad that the Atlantic City half shut down because that race was the bomb. Um, but I had I wouldn't say I had a bad race, but I like that race like shattered me. Like I finished that race and I like didn't really know anything about nutrition back then. Like I was doing sprints in Olympics and just kind of like winging it, you know, like having one gel on the run of an Olympic and kind of just like it not necessarily being an issue, right? But then you get to a half and you don't eat on a half and you're kind of, you know, dead. And I remember in 2019, I couldn't even tell you what I ate, but I know it was not even nearly enough because I remember being on the run at mile like 11, being like, I'm going to pass out. I don't know, TBD. I'm going to try and finish this run, walk a little bit and hope for the best. And then I finished the race and then like pretty much passed out for like a minute or two and was just like, I'm dead, ate some Cliff Blocks and brought myself back to life. But then like really just like, was like, I did that. I finished it. I made it. Like I can do a full. And I had signed up for Texas in 2020 and Texas is in April, right? And then the world shut down in March. So I had been like slamming out training, you know, from 2019 to 2020 and just like really sacrificing a lot. I like the weekend the world shut down. I went to a bachelor party with a bunch of my friends and was like training on the bachelor party, and then was just like shattered, like most people were when the world shut down. Um, that I was not going to be able to do Texas, and obviously like the world shut down hard. Um, I had no like ideas about doing a full Ironman. And then Wave One, the open water swim group that I mentioned before, um, they had they were doing open water swim because it was outside, so there was no like social isolation. Was super easy if you're at the like dock or whatever at what am I thinking of? What's the place in Maryland? Why am I blanking on this? Um, Not the wharf. What's the place with the Ferris wheel?
Oh, National
National Harbor.
Harbor.
Yeah. The dock is super long on National Harbor, so plenty of like social distancing space. And so they were doing like a race weekend. And so they were offering multiple distances. So you could do, I think they had like a 500-meter race, 1,000-meter race. They had a half distance and a full distance. And so when I saw that, then I got the idea. I was like, maybe I'll use this as like a launch point to do like a self-supported full. So I did the swim in the Potomac with like the Wave One people, and my like wife and my family came, and they like we brought my bike to National Harbor, and then I biked from National Harbor to the W&OD Trail in Virginia, and rode out the entire W&OD Trail to like it's like 50-ish miles, and then rode it back, and then did a marathon kind of around my house. I did the Arlington Loop, which is like a 16-mile loop, and then kind of went down to Old Town and kind of made it work. So I yeah, self-supported, and also like lots of traffic on the W&OD Trail to do a full Ironman was not the best, not an open course. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just like felt like I had done so much work to like let that fitness kind of go to waste. Was this is kind of at the point where like there were still no vaccines. Like no one really knew when the world was really going to open back up. So I was very much like I did this. Like I did a lot of the training. If you've done an Ironman, everyone knows the training is the worst part, anyways. So like the race being the celebration, I was like, I've done all this work. I've been biking for 4 or 5 hours on the weekends. Like, I'm not going to let that go to waste. I'm going to, you know, plan this out, get it done.
I love that. And hearing you say that you biked from National Harbor to Percival, that's the end of the trail and back.
Hmm.
That's a nice little race. I mean, or a nice little ride. How did you just stop along the way at different restaurants to refuel yourself? Did you take a break? How long did this take you?
It wasn't too bad. I finished in like 13 hours, 20 minutes. For the ride, I didn't stop anywhere. That's not true. I think I stopped at a water fountain a couple times, like on the trail. There's like a couple water fountains just along the trail that I stopped at to get some water. But I brought all of my fuel with me. But this is back when I think I was using UCAN and Cliff Blocks, which UCAN now I would not, is not my favorite nutrition. Um, but definitely underfueled. But so I would not say that I did the best job of, I didn't carry that much because I wasn't taking that much, which was problematic. And for the run, I took like a pack with me and didn't really need to stop and just ate lots of gels and made it work.
Okay, okay. But also in 2020, I think you mentioned you also found community. Did you find community after doing this self-supported full distance and was like, wait a minute, it is this being by myself is not the business. Let me find community. Tell me about how you came into the Varlo community where that was when its inception and has since kind of grown to be a leader in the space.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like right after it was the winter time of like 2020 to 2021. I like randomly saw this Instagram ad. I was on the like noon team and was trying to like push myself and figure out like, all right, I did an Ironman by myself. Like, what is next to a certain extent for me in this endurance space? And I felt like training alone, I was kind of looking around at like some different like teams or whatever to join as like someone who typically did training like in the morning hours, like not looking for like people to train with too. Like it was also still COVID and no one was really going out being around people. But like, how can I find something to like push myself, right? Um, and so I found an ad for Team Varlo. I looked at it. I like looked at all of like Saj's, stuff on his website and was like, this is what I want. Because Saj and Team Varlo is like more about like when I first joined Team Varlo is all about like diversity, right? Saj is like a black business owner and there's not a lot of black people in triathlon. And for him to be sort of pushing this like diversity in triathlon, like for me was just super exciting because it's something that I like as a privileged person, like feel like it's I want to give back to the community and like push that perspective is important to me, I think. And like when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is really cool. It helped that Saj's designs are also really awesome. Like the year one kit is this like floral Hawaiian pattern design that like I love. I love Hawaiian shirts, and that just like drew me to this idea of like, this is really cool. Like this is a space that I want to be a part of because I want to help people. And like right now I'm an assistant principal and I was a school psychologist. And so like LGBTQ, BTQ, like pushing lots of like things that are super important to like marginalized communities is like core, ethos of the work that I do, right? Like, um, typically as a school psychologist, you do like evaluations for kids with disabilities. So it's just really all about helping students find success. And that's just like kind of my personality, I think now, and like who I strive to be is just like be helping people. And so when I saw this opportunity, like to help people, like to help youth, to help marginalized communities get into the sport, like everyone knows triathlon's not cheap. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, you can do triathlon for $600 for your first race. It's like, yeah, you can do it, but you also could do it for $3,000 if you wanted to. So the idea that like getting kids bikes, getting people bikes, providing like, sponsorships, being part of a community so that people feel accepted was just like a really cool idea, which is why I joined Team Varlo. And then I've been on this my 5th year now, and I've just loved it ever since because of the community, because like when Saj and their brand was the first brand that provided like full covering tri kits, like stuff like that, that to me, it's like, that's proud for me to say, like, I'm part of this group that is pushing the envelope, doing things that other triathlon companies aren't doing. And like having this group of people that like, we all are on the same agenda too, right? Because there's lots of different people out in the world, but the idea that like this community is focused on pushing people to do their best, right? Like the team motto for Varlo is further together, right? We're not here to be the fastest people, but we're here to make the most progress, to be aligned in the values that we share of like triathlon. Obviously, it's great if you win a triathlon. It's cool if you get an age group podium, but like having someone cheer you on the side of a race, like goes so much further, because it's just like a good example is this past weekend. I was cheering on the Alexandria half marathon, the 5K, and like just randomly someone I follow on Instagram had posted they're going to be at the 5K. And then I was like, sick, I'm going to be here. And like, just like seeing her smile as she's running down the road and like cheering her on is like, that to me is much more valuable than pushing like to get first place in a triathlon or to talk about your FTP or stuff like that.
Although those are great subjects to talk about, right?
100%.
So,
If you want the FTP, like, feel free to shout me out though too.
no, I love it. I love that. This is deeper than just the team. It runs through the fabric, from what you do for your profession to your hobby. And there's a through line. And to me, that is admirable of using your place of privilege to be able to give back and also extend opportunities to others and lead the space. Who? I want to go back to what you said when you mentioned you were a runner prior. You did track. Track doesn't necessarily equate to long distance running, but yet you went chasing a 3 hour Boston qualifier. What was that like? Boston also just happened a couple of weeks ago or a week ago. So what was that like as well? I mean, you didn't do Boston just when it came, but it was like Marathon Monday. So everybody was rallying around the Boston Marathon. What was that like for you chasing Boston that you have to qualify for, but also you had your own um, time qualification that you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, I was a sprinter. I don't think I did a 5K until my last year of high school. Like I never, if you had told me when I was 16 that I was going to do an Ironman, I would have laughed in your face. Cause like the idea of, in practice, we wouldn't run more than 200 meters. I did 100, 200 and 400 hurdles. And even like in practice, we were never really running 400s. We were just doing lots of like speed drills, like hundreds, like repeats. Like we weren't in this idea of like zone two was not a thing back then in track because we were just like hammering speed drills out, hammering like, different plyometrics, trying to get like the fast twitch muscles moving. And then I remember in college, someone was like, "We're going to do a 5K. You want to do it with us?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And I remember like walking most of the second half of the 5K. So like the idea of like me doing endurance sports now, like to younger me, is probably like very, very silly. Um, but like now, like I did my first marathon in January of 2020 before Texas to try and like prep myself for Texas. And the idea of Boston, like ever since I heard about Boston, obviously like to everyone is this concept of like the allure of qualifying for Boston, of getting to run in a space that is elite, I think is like a very common theme of people who want to, push themselves. And as someone who's very competitive just about like everything, Boston is something that, I want to like tick off my quote unquote endurance bucket list. Um, and so I'm like a very hopeful person. I've been thinking that like I'm going to get close to Boston at some point soon. Um, and just like trying to bring my time goals down. My first marathon, I got destroyed at mile like 18 and slow jogged most of the rest of the way in, and ran like a 3:45. And then I've just kind of been like taking it down ever since. I ran a 3:12 at Chicago. I kind of blew up at mile 22. But I feel like the Boston is coming for me soon. I think I've got some plans for January 2027 for another marathon, for the Disney World Marathon that I don't know. We're gonna see where I'm at.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think I had it wrong, or I might have read it wrong. I don't know why I thought you already did Boston.
No, I'm close. I'm getting close, closer and closer, but
Okay.
not quite yet.
Okay. Okay. But like just like that swimming in General Smallwood, you are not letting up. So I know
I
you're
still
going
got.
to.
I'm getting old, but I'm not getting that old.
Right. Because well, you told me your age earlier. So I'm like, you still have a lot of miles ahead of you,
Yeah.
lots of miles ahead of you. Um, so listen, what I didn't know, Mike, is that you're a coach.
Yeah, I do like some coaching on the side. I've been coaching for I don't know. I don't know. I like to, as I said before, I like to help people, right? And so like usually when people are like, I want to do this, I'm like, hey, if you want a plan, like give me a shout. I'm happy to write you a plan, talk to you about coaching. So I've been kind of like on the side doing coaching for like 6 years now. I've coached my wife and a couple of her friends, and then right now I'm coaching. Last year I did Chicago. I did it with one of my good like neighborhood friends, and we ran it for her dad who has ALS, who unfortunately recently passed. And so this year she has like a really big cohort of her family that is doing it in honor of her dad. And so I'm coaching a couple of her family members and her to, a couple of them have some good time goals, and then a couple of them are just looking to finish. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I mean, again, like the coaching for me, like I'm not charging anybody coaching. I've thought about at some point like trying to make like the more official jump into like charging for coaching, but I just like similar to the concept of like helping people. I just like seeing people achieve goals, and like I'm a very pushy person, and so anytime someone's like, I have a race I want to do, I'm always like, oh, cool. Like, are you gonna set a PR? What's your time goal? Like, what are you doing? Like, how can I help you? Because I feel like after being in the endurance space for such a long time, like listening to bazillions of podcasts, reading lots of books about, running and training plans and things like that, I feel like I've got good knowledge to give back to people about like how they can do the best they can. Like people complain. I talk a lot about gels on my Instagram, and like my hope is that people just see all the gels that I'm using and also think about gels that they're using. Because I know like people, I mean, they do marathons and they don't eat enough. They don't carb load. They don't do anything. And it's like even if you just ate 4 Pop-Tarts a day before a marathon, your marathon's going to be so much different.
Mm. Don't give people the cheat code to eat all those Pop Tarts and then they just keep loving eating Pop Tarts. That was one of my favorite little treats when I was younger. I can't. I don't love them now, but unless they're
Oh,
fresh, they have to be like homemade Pop Tarts
mm,
for me to really enjoy them now because I'm into a lot of like natural, make your own, whatever. Anyway,
mm.
random tangent. But are you coaching just runners or you're also coaching triathlon? And if so, did you have to go get any certifications for that or you just do it out of the love and knowledge that you've had over the years that you've been training?
I'm just coaching runners right now. I've been like low key looking at some certifications. Like if I'm ever trying to make the switch, I want to be like more official, right? To look at like the USAT certification or a couple other, like I do my training plan. I do like the 80/20 training from Matt Fitzgerald, and they have a coaching like cohort that they do, and recruit coaches. So that's been like on my mind. But time has been, you know, very small for me as of late.
I mean, you got three children under 5 years old, right?
Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore because my other kid just turned 5. So my yeah, and that's like my like endurance what I don't know, timeline is like very parallel to my children and stuff. So like I did that first self-supported Ironman in 2020, and then when I did my first like legit quote unquote or whatever like actual Ironman race, my first kid was 2 months old, and so like big shout out to my wife. My wife handles like so much load. She's never gonna listen to this podcast, so it doesn't matter. She's not gonna hear this compliments for her. But big shout
You
out to
got to
my
play
wife.
them
My
for her.
she, I mean, when I did my first Ironman, there's a picture of her like wearing our child as she's like cheering me on, and she like carted him around for like 12 hours that day to cheer for me. And like takes them like when I do like a 6 hour workout. I try really hard to not impact my time with the kids because like I want to spend as much time with my kids, but like when you're doing a 6 hour workout, and even if you start at 4 o'clock in the morning, you're still not done until 10 a.m. Um, but I still, but yeah, definitely big kudos to my wife. My kids are just like, I had them so close in age, right? So my first kid was born in April 2021. I did that full in September 2021. And then right before my twins were born in September of 2022 is when I did Lake Placid. So like my wife is like has a baby, is pregnant with twins, and is also like dealing with me going off to ride my bicycle for who knows how long while I'm training for another Ironman after she just like dealt with this being pregnant while training for another Ironman. Um, and I had my kids, and then she was like, "You're not doing an Ironman next year in 2023." So took a little time off, and then uh, yeah, and I don't know. Time is just like there's just not a lot of free time in my household. My kids are just running me ragged.
But you make it work and it seems like you guys you make a good team. And so there's true partnership. And I'm so glad she said, mm-mm, you will not do one in 2023. She put her foot down. Go, Mrs. Nyman, go. And I hope you listen to this with her so that she can hear all of those wonderful accolades that you shared with her because it does take very supportive women, a woman to do that or a partner um,
hmm
to be able to support you, especially baby in tow and baby in oven. Yeah, that's extreme, but it goes again to show the partnership that you all have and that works for you all. Now, you mentioned starting your workout sometimes at 4 a.m. so that you can be done by 10. Is that a consistent schedule? Because again, you are a school principal, you're still training for races. What does a day in the life of Mike Nyman look like with all of his responsibility when training in full gear?
Yeah, right now I've moved. Like weekends, I'll usually be up early if I have a workout. Like I try and my best like time slot is nighttime right now. So my kids finally are going to sleep around like 7:30, 8. So usually I'll have like a good 3 hours from like 8 to 11 to train. Um, if you follow me on Instagram, you see like most of I do a lot of running at nighttime and biking at nighttime, and I'm starting at like 8:30, 9 o'clock sometimes to get like an hour or 2 hour ride in. But usually I have kids who don't sleep well. for whatever reason. I don't know, but my kids wake up. My big kid wakes up. He's up at 5:15 this morning, and my other kid was up at 5:45. So mornings kind of become non-existent for me for training. So usually I'm up early with them, and if I swim, I'll swim in the morning. So like today I swam. I got up at 5:15, and I'm out the door at 6:45. And again, shout out to my wife for watching the kids from 6:45 to when they go to preschool. Um, but usually I'll wake up. I will maybe swim in the morning, go to work from like 8 to 4, come home on, jump right into kid time from like 4 to bedtime to 7:38. And then if I'm in like good training, I'll then do like either an hour and a half bike or hour bike, hour run. I have like a pretty good pain cave setup, which is nice. So I have like a treadmill and the kicker at home. So it's easy to get stuff done. And then usually
Mhm.
bedtime is at like 11, and then we're back to it again the next day.
Last question on this. I'm just curious. Working out that late at night doesn't interrupt your sleep?
I'm so tired by the end of the day. People ask me this all the time, but I'm so tired by the end of the day that usually I'm yawning on the bike and I'm just like about to pass out. And
Mm.
I'll usually just go right to bed. And I have never had problems falling asleep. I can fall asleep anywhere. When I was a kid, I would fall asleep in a restaurant. I don't know. I have no issues falling asleep.
Mm. Good. I need to do or read some studies about people who work out at night and cannot sleep. That's me. I work out after a certain time. I'm like, what's happening? And I'm like, oh, I just want to go to sleep. Mike, this is so good. Out of all the things that you've done, been in this sport for now almost 13 years, off and on, but you've been an athlete going back to your high school days of running, being on the track team. You were also, did you play football? No, no. Yeah, you played football. You were a kicker. How cool is that? Um, but you also was on the frisbee team in college. So you've been around sports and team atmospheres your entire life. What do you have to say to a beginner who is just getting started and listening to this and has an upcoming race or maybe in their first year? And what would you say to a veteran? Because we have both that listen to the show, um, on how to keep their zeal for the sport alive.
I think for a beginner, it's just like, don't be scared of going to a race. Don't be scared to talk to the person next to you in transition. I know that's something that like I try and like look around in transition and see who like looks scared, but like don't once you go and you cross that finish line, like I know there's a lot of people who cross the finish line and are like, that was the worst thing that I've ever done and will never come back to triathlon. But there's so many people who cross that finish line who have like done so much on their journey, right? Like that, I think is what a lot of people forget is that the race is really just like the culmination of months upon months of training. And I was really upset with how I did at Texas, and it's taken me just this morning. I had like a moment where I was in the pool where I was like, no, like I had a good race at Texas. Like I did set a PR, but I didn't set a PR quite like what I had thought I was going to set. So I was like upset with myself because my swim went really bad. But even if stuff goes bad, like still treasure the fact that you showed up to the start line, you worked really, really hard, and if that race didn't go good, there's so many other races to do. Like keep at it. Like don't let it be a one and done ever if you're a beginner in triathlon because I think that there's so much good about triathlon. There's so much that like you as a person, when you do something like a triathlon, other stuff is just like no big deal, right? If you're up at night, if you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're going for a 6 mile run, then stuff later in the day is like whatever, not a big deal. And like it just when I do morning workouts, I like morning workouts better than night workouts because morning workouts I feel like set me up for success for the day. Like after I do like a morning run, I'm like in a much better mood. I feel like I'm very like decompressed for the day. And I feel like for the veterans, we get stuck in this idea of like every race is going to be perfect. Every race is going to be what I want it to be. I'm going to train really hard without like remembering that we're all doing God knows what with our days. We're all super busy with family, with work, with all this stuff. And like this is my fifth full Ironman, and I'm still chasing PRs, and I still feel like I have a lot left that I want to do in the sport. Like Kona is definitely a topic on my mind. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but just trying to figure out like for your zeal, like what is going to push you, right? Like if you've been in triathlon, you've been a veteran for a super long time, like what is next for you? For me, I know that that point is coming for me, and I'm already trying to set myself up for success with that. I signed up to be an Achilles guide, to do like blind guide running or people with disabilities guide running, because I'm already feeling like my purpose of like chasing PRs and just pushing myself over and over again is like not coming to an end, but I know my time of like as a veteran in the sport, someone who's done the sport for a long time, is sort of like the push is not quite as there, I think, in my mind. Like I'm really pushing for either a Kona qualification or a Boston qualification, but then thinking about like what other ways can I give back to the sport? Like cheering for a half marathon brought me a lot of joy this past weekend because like I'm seeing so many people. We're talking about people who are probably first time half marathoners, like people who are walking in their half marathon. Like as a veteran, like a half marathon is, it's a half marathon. For someone who's done an Ironman, that's nothing. But for someone who it's their first half marathon, or they're trying to set a PR, is like that is big for them. And like to treasure that and to be in that moment with them just brings me a lot of joy because it makes me think about like how much running and the endurance community gives back to people and how like it's not even just like the health aspects of running, but it can just be the like mental aspects of like if you try really hard to do something and you do it, that is powerful. That in and of itself can really like shift someone to, being frustrated about basic stuff to being like, but I ran 5 miles this morning. Like that was really hard. Like I got up at 5 a.m. I got out the door and I did it. Like what else can I accomplish? What else can I tackle in my day? And what else is stupid that's not worth my time to care about?
Mm. Mike Nyman, thank you so much. I think there's so much gold in everything that you just said. And the fact that anyone wakes up at 4 to 5 to get up and work out is amazing. And anyone who works out after 8 o'clock it's a different level because that's when you're tired. Everything is set in. So I guess the overarching thing is no matter when you do it, just try and do the best with whatever situation you have and the time parameters you're given. With that said, you know what time it is. What time is it, Mike?
I don't know. What time is it?
It's rapid fire time.
Rapid fire time. Sorry.
You didn't know. I just felt like, what time is it? Game time. I just felt like I was going in a groove, but no. Let's do a little bit of rapid fire. Favorite race distance?
I think it's the half Ironman.
One piece of gear you can't live without.
My watch.
What's harder, an Ironman or 3 kids under 6?
3 kids. Definitely. Ironman's easy.
What's one thing you wish you knew in 2013?
Eat gels. Please eat gels.
Go to pre-race meal.
Always a bagel with cream cheese.
Mm. If your kids get into triathlon, would you be excited or nervous?
They will. They might be forced to, but they will.
And would you be excited about that or nervous?
I'm excited. My kids are super high energy, so I think they're gonna like it.
Okay. Do you have a race day mantra?
Yeah. There's a song by Macklemore and Tones called Chant. I'm blanking on what the exact race day phrase is. It's like, how far can you push yourself?
Okay. And the last question, we don't let anyone leave the podcast without answering. Do you pee on the bike or get off and take a proper pee break?
This is a big problem for me. I cannot pee on the bike. I have tried to train myself to pee on the bike. I was very upset at Texas. I had to stop twice to pee, but I have never been able to make myself pee on the bike. I don't know if it's a mental block, if it's a physical block, but I can't do it.
But there you have it. One day you'll figure it out because that's the person you are. You're like, I'm not letting this
I've been
happen to
trying
me.
for, I think, 10 years now. I don't know what it is, but I've tried everything. I've read lots of articles about how to pee on the bike. I don't think it's coming for me.
Well, you'll live to tell us about it in the future. Mike Nyman, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you. We have this saying on Try Beginner's Luck: whenever you try, you always win. I believe that, and I think it's so true. If you've loved this podcast, if you share it with your friends, share the podcast with your friends, like and follow us on the different podcast platforms as well as on social media. We are on YouTube and Substack, and we have some exciting things that are coming on. And I'm going to go ahead and tease it as if it's going to be a giveaway. Yes, I am really excited about this upcoming giveaway. And you're going to want to tune in to make sure you don't miss this opportunity. My name is Mashonda Miles, also known as Mashonda Shines. And for today, we are out. Peace. Bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. We need your help so we can continue to try at TBL. So for more information on where you can find and subscribe to this podcast, visit www.trybeginnersluck.com. And don't forget, whenever you try Beginner's Luck, you always win.